Jace wiped the sweat from his brow and adjusted the flickering helmet light. The mining colony on Astera 9 was quiet now, except for the hum of machinery and the occasional warning beep from the central power grid. Nights here were always tense. The asteroid's atmosphere was thin, gravity weak, and cosmic storms could strike without warning. Jace had grown used to the solitude, but he still preferred company. Tonight, though, he was alone, checking the main energy conduit that had been acting strangely all day. The power core blinked unevenly, the green indicators flashing on and off. Jace frowned. Something wasn't right. He tightened his gloves and tapped the console. The system's diagnostics ran slowly, as if resisting his commands. A low hum filled the room, a vibration that he could feel through his boots. Suddenly, a shadow moved near the far end of the room. Jace froze. The mining colony had strict security, and no one was supposed to be here at this hour. "Who's there?" he called, trying to keep his voice steady. There was no reply. The shadow moved closer, and as the figure stepped into the light, Jace blinked in surprise. It was a woman, or at least she looked human at first glance. Her skin had a faint shimmer, almost like it was made of flowing energy. Her hair floated slightly, as if the low gravity tugged at it in strange ways, and she was unclothed of any suit or work gear, standing there as if she belonged entirely to the room. Jace swallowed hard, his mind racing. This was no ordinary worker. The woman's eyes were large and luminous, reflecting the blinking lights of the machinery. She seemed fragile, but at the same time, there was a quiet strength about her. She did not speak. She simply extended a hand toward the nearby conduit, her fingers brushing the metal. Sparks danced harmlessly along the surface, like fireflies. Jace stepped back, astonished. How are you doing that?" he asked, though part of him already feared he might not want to know the answer. The woman tilted her head, studying him. A soft hum emerged from her lips, a sound that seemed more like music than language. Jace realized she wasn't speaking words he could understand. Instead, she communicated in a rhythm of sounds, almost like electrical pulses. Carefully, Jace moved closer. "Wait. Don't touch that too much. It could overload." But the warning was unnecessary. The sparks she generated danced and vanished, without damaging the machinery. She was somehow controlling the energy, guiding it safely along the circuits. Jace's curiosity overcame his caution. He took a deep breath. "Okay. I think you're not just some intruder. Are you some kind of engineer?" The woman's hum rose slightly, almost like a laugh. She waved her hand at him, motioning for him to follow. Hesitant but intrigued, Jace moved toward her. She led him to a section of the power grid that had been completely dead. A thin, glowing line ran from the core of her body into the machinery. The lights flickered, then stabilized. Jace's jaw dropped. He had seen colony engineers work miracles with tools, with programs, with training, but never like this. She didn't use any of that. She simply reached out, and the energy obeyed her. He crouched beside her, inspecting the panel. "I've been trying to fix this all day. Nothing worked. And here you are. Just touching it, and..." He shook his head. "I don't understand. What are you?" The woman tilted her head again, then reached out and touched his hand. A warmth flowed through him. Not electric, not dangerous, but alive. For a moment, the hum of the machinery seemed to sync with his heartbeat. Jace felt a connection, as if she could sense his intentions, his thoughts, his calm or worry. You can feel it?" he whispered, though she didn't reply in words. Instead, she guided him to touch a different part of the conduit. Immediately, the remaining flickering lights steadied. The power grid was fully operational again. Jace staggered back. "You fixed it. Just like that." He looked at her in awe. "And you didn't even use a tool. No panel, no controls. Just your hands." The woman's eyes glowed softly, and she stepped back. Her body shimmered in the fluorescent lights. as if the colony's electricity itself was flowing through her. Jace realized she was entirely unlike anyone he had ever met, or anyone had ever met in the colonies. "Okay," he said slowly. "You're not just an engineer. You're something else. Something extraordinary." He rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of it. The hum in the room settled, leaving only the soft sound of the colony's ventilation. "And you came here alone? No suit? No gear?" The woman didn't answer with words, but she pointed toward the windows, where the cosmic storm had begun to stir outside. Tiny streaks of charged particles flickered in the darkness. She moved toward the observation deck, and Jace followed. As he watched, she raised her hands, and the storm seemed to slow, the energy around the colony stabilizing in a way that made Jace's stomach churn with disbelief. You're controlling it. You're shielding the colony," he exclaimed. She turned to him, eyes glowing brighter. She was vulnerable, yes, but powerful beyond measure. In that moment, Jace realized that he had stumbled upon a being whose very existence challenged everything he knew about life, technology, and energy itself. "Wait. I have to know who you are," he said. "Where do you come from? What's your purpose?" The woman's hum rose into a melodic tone, and though he could not understand it, Jace felt comprehension deep inside him. She was here to repair, to protect, to guide, not for fame, not for recognition, but because it was her nature. Her unclothed form was not shameful or strange, it was the natural state of her being. She absorbed and radiated energy directly, without the need for clothing or armor. Jace swallowed hard. His hands itched to write down everything he was seeing, but he knew no recorder could capture the shimmer of her skin, the music of her hum, or the awe of the energy she controlled. "All right," he said finally, taking a cautious step closer. "I guess I'll have to work with you. If you're going to help the colony survive, we need to understand each other." The woman's eyes softened, and she nodded an almost human gesture, but filled with a strange, alien elegance. She stepped back to the central panel and reached out again. The power surged slightly under her touch, but this time, it was gentle, controlled, perfectly balanced. Jace watched in amazement. He realized that humanity was encountering something far beyond ordinary understanding. A being whose strength was in harmony with energy itself, and he, a simple human engineer, would have to find a way to cooperate with her or risk losing everything he cared about. As he observed, he felt a sense of hope he hadn't felt in months. The colony was old, the machinery ancient, and the storms merciless. But here was a creature, an alien woman, mysterious and powerful, standing beside him, ready to face whatever danger the universe might throw at them. And in that moment, Jace knew one thing for certain. She was no ordinary electrician. The alarms blinked softly in the distance. A warning light indicated another surge in the outer power conduits. Jace took a deep breath. "Well, let's see if we can handle this together," he said, extending a hand. She mirrored him, energy crackling harmlessly between them. For the first time in months, Jace smiled. The night might be long. The storm might be dangerous. But with her by his side, he felt ready to face whatever challenges awaited. And somewhere deep in the colony, the hum of power pulsed in time with their cautious, growing understanding, a rhythm of trust, energy, and the promise of extraordinary cooperation. The morning sun, or rather, the faint glow of the nearby star, filtered through the mining colony's observation windows. The cosmic storm outside had calmed, leaving streaks of charged particles dancing across the asteroid's surface. Jace moved cautiously along the corridor, his eyes flicking toward the alien woman, who now walked beside him with calm, almost serene movements. Her presence still felt extraordinary. Even now, hours after their first encounter, he couldn't stop watching the subtle shimmer of her skin. It wasn't just light reflecting energy pulsed beneath it, flowing like liquid currents. Every step she took seemed measured, precise, as if she was attuned to the hum of the colony itself. "All right," Jace said finally, breaking the silence. "We need a plan. I know you can fix the grid, but there are other systems in this colony that are ancient, unstable, and fragile. If we don't address them, the next storm could do real damage." The woman tilted her head and emitted a soft hum, turning her glowing eyes toward the maintenance schematics projected on the wall. Jace had learned quickly that she didn't speak words humans could understand, but she could sense patterns, connections, and energy flows instinctively. He had no choice but to interpret her movements and hums as guidance. He walked over to the oldest section of the colony's power conduits. Dust and rust coated the metal, and several panels were partially melted from previous storms. Jace knelt beside the conduits, checking each one. "See," he said, "even with your powers, this section is dangerous. If we don't stabilize it, the storm could knock out the main generator." The alien woman extended her hand, hovering above a corroded circuit. Sparks danced along her fingertips, harmlessly illuminating the grimy room. Jace held his breath. Then, slowly, the conduit began to hum, responding to her touch. Energy flowed like water through the old pipes, filling the room with a soft, steady glow. It's incredible," Jace whispered. "You don't even need tools. Just your presence is enough." She emitted a tone that Jace interpreted as affirmation. Then she moved to a larger panel, one that controlled the outer defenses of the colony. The blinking warning lights began to stabilize. Jace marveled at the precision of her work. No human engineer, no matter how skilled, could manipulate energy with such fluidity. But even as the system stabilized, Jace could see the strain on her. Energy swirled visibly around her form, flickering and pulsing like a living aurora. She didn't speak, but Jace could sense her concentration. He moved closer. "Take a break," he said gently. "You're doing more than anyone could ask. Let me handle the small circuits while you recover." She paused, tilting her head, then shifted slightly away from the panel. Her glow dimmed for a moment, like a candle responding to a draft. Jace realized that even though she was powerful, she wasn't limitless. Energy could be drained, and exhaustion was real even for a being like her. He knelt beside a smaller conduit and began making adjustments with his tools. Sparks flew occasionally, but nothing as dramatic as the bursts of energy from her hands. Yet, even working on the small systems, he couldn't help but glance toward her. Each hum, each ripple of her skin, seemed to communicate a story he couldn't fully understand, but one that inspired awe and caution in equal measure. Hours passed. Jace worked diligently, following the alien woman's subtle guidance. Together, they repaired failing conduits, stabilized erratic circuits, and prevented small surges from becoming full-blown disasters. Slowly, he began to see a pattern. She was not just repairing systems. She was sensing the life of the colony itself. Each hum and flicker of energy seemed tied to the well-being of every inhabitant, every machine, every glowing control panel. Finally, after a particularly tense moment when a main generator threatened to overload, the alien woman extended both hands. Fingers spread wide, energy surged around her, forming a shimmering barrier that enveloped the room. Jace watched as sparks leapt safely into the protective field, the hum of the machinery stabilizing instantly. You just saved the entire engineering bay," Jace said, awe in his voice. He felt a warmth spread through him. Not from the energy, but from gratitude and respect. "I don't think any human could have done what you just did." She emitted a melodic tone that seemed almost like laughter. It was musical, resonant, and full of life. Jace realized that she wasn't just capable of extraordinary feats, she found joy in helping, in creating harmony out of chaos. "All right," Jace said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Let's take a moment to plan. You've stabilized the critical systems, but we need to prepare for the next storm. If another surge hits, the colony won't survive without a strong shield." The woman turned toward him, her glowing eyes meeting his. He could feel a sense of understanding, of agreement, flowing through the hums she emitted. Together, they walked to the observation deck, watching the asteroid's surface for any signs of disturbance. Jace noticed how her movements mirrored the patterns of energy he could see in the colony's systems. She was attuned not just to the technology but to the life and rhythm of the place itself. It struck him she was more than an engineer. More than a protector. She was a being whose very existence was tied to balance and order. "Tell me," Jace began cautiously. "What are you? Where do you come from? How can you do all this?" The alien woman stepped to the center of the observation deck and spread her arms wide. A soft light enveloped her, illuminating the panels, the walls, even Jace's tools. Energy rippled outward, showing patterns that seemed almost alive. Then, in a series of gentle hums, she conveyed something Jace could barely comprehend. His mind struggled to translate the vibrations and rhythms into meaning. Slowly, he understood. She was part of a species that existed to maintain balance, to repair what was failing, to protect life where it could not protect itself. "You're a guardian," he said, finally understanding. "Not just an engineer. You came here to protect us." She tilted her head, emitting a tone that Jace interpreted as confirmation. For a moment, he simply watched her, realizing that humans had never encountered a being like this before. She was extraordinary, vulnerable in her simplicity, yet powerful beyond imagination. Suddenly, a warning light flashed red. A surge was approaching from the colony's outer conduits, one they hadn't yet stabilized. Jace's heart raced. "We need to act fast," he said, rushing to a nearby control panel. "If this hits, it could knock out the main generator and destroy everything." The alien woman moved beside him, hands hovering over the conduit. Energy leapt from her fingers, weaving into the metal and circuits, guiding the surge harmlessly through the system. Jace followed her lead, connecting wires and activating safety valves as she worked. Sparks danced in the air, lighting up the room like tiny stars. Minutes passed, each one tense and filled with uncertainty. Jace could see the strain in her movements, the flicker of her glow dimming slightly as she exerted herself. But the surge was contained. The machinery hummed steadily, the warning lights turning green once more. Jace exhaled, his hands trembling slightly. "We did it," he said, though part of him didn't know if he was speaking to her or to the colony itself. "We actually did it." The alien woman stepped back, hands lowering, glow fading to a soft, steady shimmer. She turned her eyes toward him, and Jace felt a strange sense of connection, of trust. They had faced danger together, and she had proven not just her power, but her willingness to help, to cooperate, to protect. Jace leaned against the observation deck's railing, looking out at the calm asteroid's surface. He realized that humanity was not alone in the galaxy. Strange, powerful beings existed. Beings who could work with humans, teach them, and help them survive. And if humans could rise to the challenge, perhaps they could earn a place alongside them. "All right," he said finally, straightening up. "We need to figure out how to make this last. The next storm could be worse. We'll need systems, plans, maybe even training for the colonists. And we'll need you." The alien woman tilted her head, hums rising in what Jace imagined was a thoughtful response. She moved closer, her glow reflecting off the panels. And together, they began planning. For the first time in his life, Jace felt that anything was possible. The colony was ancient, fragile, and isolated. But with her guidance, there was hope. They could face the next storm. They could survive. And perhaps, they could thrive. Hours passed, but Jace didn't feel the fatigue he normally would. Working alongside her, understanding her patterns, following her subtle guidance, it was exhausting in its own way, but exhilarating. Humanity was small, fragile, and limited. But their ability to learn, adapt, and cooperate could bring them far. By the end of the day, the colony's energy systems were fully stabilized. The alien woman rested in a small chamber, glow dim and steady, while Jace documented everything he could. Every circuit she touched, every surge she redirected, every hum she emitted, it all had to be recorded. They couldn't rely solely on her power. They needed knowledge to survive if she could not always be present. Jace paused, looking at her. "I don't know what you're called, or where you came from," he said softly. "But I think we're going to need each other." She tilted her head, hums rising in a tone that felt like agreement. And for the first time, Jace realized the truth of the title he would one day give this story. She was no ordinary electrician. She was something extraordinary, and humanity had just begun to understand what that meant. And in the quiet hum of the colony, Jace felt a sense of anticipation. The next storm would come. But this time, they would be ready. Together. The calm after the storm did not last long. As night fell over Astera 9, warning sirens echoed through the mining colony. Red lights blinked across control panels, and the hum of the machinery grew anxious, faster, uneven. Jace's stomach twisted. The cosmic storm was returning, stronger and more unpredictable this time. He hurried down the corridors, tools in hand, searching for the alien woman. She was already at the observation deck, standing near the main power conduit. Her form glowed softly, pulsing with energy that seemed almost alive. When she turned her eyes toward him, Jace could feel the tension in the colony transmitted through her subtle hums. "This one is worse," he muttered under his breath, barely needing to explain. The lights flickered and dimmed, responding to the approaching surge outside. Sparks flew along exposed panels, harmlessly bouncing against shields the alien woman had set in place, but only just. She extended her hands toward the central conduit, and energy arced gently from her fingertips, forming a soft, radiant shield around the room. Jace could feel the vibrations in the floor resonance from the storm itself. He ran to her side, checking gauges and opening panels as she guided the flow of power with effortless precision. "All right," he shouted over the rising hum. "We need to stabilize the outer conduits first. If the surge reaches the main generator, we could lose the colony," the alien woman hummed in response, a melody that seemed to translate into movement. Sparks of energy followed her every gesture, dancing across circuits and wires as though obeying her commands. She stepped closer to one of the failing conduits, and Jace noticed how her glow intensified with each touch, the shimmer of her skin like liquid light running through her veins. He knew she was straining. The first storm had taken energy from her, though she recovered quickly. This second surge was much larger. He realized she could not hold it alone for long. "Listen," Jace said, voice steady, though his heart pounded. "But I can manage the conduits manually. If we split tasks, maybe we can survive this." She tilted her head and hummed, and Jace took it as permission. He ran to the outer conduits, connecting circuits and opening safety valves. Sparks erupted occasionally, but her shield protected him. He felt the alien's presence beside him like a constant wave of energy, guiding him, showing him where to place each wire, how to handle the failing panels. Minutes passed, each one stretching endlessly. The storm roared outside, battering the asteroid with waves of charged particles. Jace could see streaks of energy dancing across the observation windows, striking the colony's outer shell. The vibrations shook the floor, and the alarms shrieked. He glanced at the alien woman. She was glowing brighter than ever, energy surging from her body into the machinery, stabilizing the entire colony. Sparks arced between her hands and the conduits, harmless but dazzling, illuminating her form in ghostly light. He could see the strain now. Her glow flickered, her movements slowed slightly, but she did not stop. Jace's pulse quickened. "You can't do this alone. We need a plan, or this will overwhelm you," she responded with a series of hums, rhythmic and steady. Jace felt her intent. She was guiding the energy safely, protecting the colony, and relying on him to manage the systems she could not touch directly. He worked faster, following her guidance instinctively. Every panel he touched, every wire he connected, followed a pattern that seemed alive, as if the colony itself was a living entity, and he was its hand, guided by her. The surge grew stronger, Sparks flew from panels, the hum of the machinery rising to a deafening pitch. Jace saw one of the outer conduits glowing red, overload imminent. "Not good!" he shouted, rushing to adjust the controls. But the alien woman was already there, extending both hands toward the conduit. Energy flowed from her body into the system, forming a protective barrier that kept the panel from exploding. Jace stepped back, shielding his eyes. The room glowed with a bright, radiant light, illuminating every surface, every tool, every flicker of sparks. He could feel the raw power in the air, vibrating through the floor, the walls, the very bones of the colony. He had never seen anything like it. "She's amazing," he muttered to himself. "No human could do this. No human could do this. I think." Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Jace worked with precision, following the subtle cues of her hums and gestures. The alien woman's glow pulsed, sometimes bright, sometimes dim, but always steady in its rhythm. She moved with elegance and power, guiding the storm's energy safely through the colony's circuits, preventing overload, protecting every room, every inhabitant. Then, a loud crack echoed through the chamber. One of the outer shields began to falter, sparks flying dangerously close to the walls. Jace ran to assist, but he realized she was already there, extending her hands, energy flowing from her in a brilliant arc. He watched, awestruck, as she absorbed the excess energy, stabilizing the shield once more. "You're pushing too hard," he shouted, though she could not hear him. But she only hummed softly, a calm note that seemed to tell him, "I can do this. Trust me." Jay stepped back, monitoring the panels. He realized the truth. She could survive, yes, but she was not infinite. If the storm lasted much longer, or if a larger surge struck, she could exhaust herself completely. And then, what would happen to the colony? He glanced at her, glowing with energy, and felt a surge of admiration and respect. She was vulnerable in a way humans rarely saw. Yet she wielded power that no human could imagine. Her hands guided currents, her hums synchronized with the machinery, and her calm presence steadied him as much as it steadied the colony. "We need a plan," he muttered, thinking quickly. "I can't match your energy, but I can divert some of the surges manually, spread the load. We might be able to keep this going," she hummed in response, and Jace realized she understood. He ran from panel to panel, redirecting flows, adjusting valves, opening safety channels. Sparks erupted around him, but the alien woman's protective field ensured nothing would explode. Time blurred. The storm raged outside, a wall of charged particles battering the colony. Yet inside, Jace and the alien woman worked in perfect coordination. Every flicker of her glow, every hum, every gesture told him exactly what to do, and together, they kept the colony alive. Finally, the surge began to subside. The red warning lights dimmed. The hum of the machinery softened, and the glowing energy around the alien woman returned to a gentle, steady shimmer. Jace collapsed onto a nearby panel, panting. We did it," he said, disbelief and relief in his voice. She stepped back, glow dimmed to a soft, steady light, as if the storm had drawn most of the energy out of her. Jace could see her strength was not unlimited, and he felt a mix of admiration and concern. "You saved us," he said softly. "All of us. The colony, the people, everything." He paused, catching his breath. "And you didn't even hesitate." The alien woman tilted her head, emitting a soft, melodic hum. Jace felt the resonance in his chest, a sense of approval, of trust, of connection. He realized something. She was not just helping him or the colony. She was teaching him, showing him the power of cooperation, the strength of calm focus, the value of trust. Jace stood slowly, walking beside her. "We need to recover, recharge systems, and make sure the colony is prepared for the next storm. I don't know how much more you can give." She extended her hands toward a smaller panel, tapping lightly. Energy flowed gently, stabilizing the minor conduits. Her glow flickered faintly, and Jace realized that even this small effort would take energy from her. He stepped closer, placing a hand on one of the control panels. "I'll take care of the smaller systems," he said. "You rest. Just a little. We'll work together. Okay?" She tilted her head, humming softly in agreement. Jace felt a rush of relief. Together, they had survived the worst of the storm. Together, they could face the next challenge. Looking out the observation deck, Jace saw the storm weakening, but still raging across the asteroid's surface. He knew this was only the beginning. The colony was fragile, the storms unpredictable, and the universe itself seemed determined to test them. Yet, he felt hope. With her guidance, her strength, and her presence, humanity had a chance. And maybe, just maybe, humans could rise to meet challenges far greater than themselves. For now, though, the colony was safe. The alien woman rested, glowing faintly, humming softly. Jace checked the panels one last time, recording every detail, every reaction, every spark. They had survived the storm together, and he knew that this bond between human ingenuity and alien power would shape the future of the colony, and perhaps of humanity itself. And somewhere deep in the heart of the asteroid, the hum of energy continued, steady and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. The storm had finally passed, leaving the asteroid's surface scarred with streaks of glowing energy and small craters where charged particles had struck. The mining colony on Astera 9 was battered, but intact. Jace walked through the corridors, checking systems, listening to the hum of machinery. Everything was stable. At least for now. The alien woman stood at the observation deck, her glow soft and steady. The exhaustion from the storm was clear, though her strength was incredible. She had expended much of her energy maintaining the protective shields. Jace approached her cautiously. "You did it," he said softly. "We survived. The colony, everyone. Thanks to you." She tilted her head and hummed gently, a calm melody that resonated through the observation deck. It was not pride or arrogance, just quiet confirmation. She had acted because it was her nature to protect and restore balance. Jace felt awe at her dedication. He glanced at the main power conduit. Every panel, every wire, every circuit was stable. He ran diagnostics, making small adjustments to ensure nothing had been damaged beyond repair. His hands moved efficiently, guided by the knowledge he had gained from observing her. "You know," he said, pausing, "I've been thinking. Humans are small. Our species isn't the strongest, the fastest, or the most powerful. But we survive. We adapt. We learn. And today, we had a chance to work with someone far beyond our abilities, and we made it through. I think that says a lot about us." The alien woman hummed in response, and Jace felt a wave of warmth. She had not only protected the colony but had also taught him something important. Humans could rise to meet challenges, even if they lacked natural power. Their ingenuity, their courage, and their willingness to cooperate could achieve extraordinary things. He moved closer. "We should check on the colonists. Make sure everyone is safe." They walked through the colony together. The miners and engineers were coming out of their quarters, cautious but relieved. Some stared at the alien woman, awe and curiosity written on their faces. Jace noticed that, despite their initial fear, they no longer seemed afraid. They understood, at least in part, what had just occurred. One of the engineers, a young woman named Lyra, approached Jace. "That being, she saved us all. How? How did she do it?" Jace smiled faintly. "I don't know fully. But she's not just an engineer. She's something else entirely. She's a guardian." The alien woman remained quiet, glowing softly as she observed the colonists. Her hums were calm, soothing, a reminder that all was well. Jace realized that her presence alone had taught the colonists something important: cooperation, trust, and respect. Not through fear or orders, but through action. He led her back to the engineering bay. Many panels had been damaged, but the majority were stable thanks to her guidance. Jace set to work, fixing the minor damage. She floated beside him, her hands occasionally brushing a conduit, gently guiding the flow of energy, maintaining balance without strain. "You know," Jace said thoughtfully, "you've changed how I see everything. Energy, life, even the way we think about our systems. Humans can be clever, but you show us what's possible when we understand, when we respect the forces around us." She hummed softly in response. The tone seemed almost like laughter, light and joyful. Jace chuckled. "I think we're going to make a good team, you and me. Not just for repairs, but for the future of this colony. And maybe for humans in general." Hours passed as they worked together. Jace handled the mechanical tasks, guided by the aliens' subtle gestures and hums. Slowly, the engineering bay returned to full functionality. Lights stabilized, conduits hummed with steady energy, and the colony's main systems were fully operational. At last, Jace stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. "We did it. The colony is safe. You did it all." She tilted her head, glowing faintly, as if acknowledging his words. Jace felt a sense of admiration and gratitude. He knew that without her, the storm would have destroyed everything, and yet, she had no desire for recognition. She acted simply because it was right. Jace walked to the observation deck, gazing out at the calm asteroid surface. The storm had left scars, but nothing permanent. Nature's force was harsh, but with understanding and cooperation, survival was possible. He turned to the alien woman. "I don't know your name, or where you come from, but I want you to know. Humanity is grateful, and I think we could learn a lot from you." "No." She stepped closer, humming softly, her glow steady. Jace felt a sense of connection he had never experienced before. Not friendship in the simple human sense, but something deeper, a bond forged in challenge, in survival, in understanding. "You've taught me more than I expected," he said. "Not just about energy, or engineering, or storms. You've shown me what it means to work together. Humans, we have courage, even if we're small. And with guidance, we can do incredible things." The alien woman responded with a long, melodic hum. Jace smiled faintly, realizing it was her way of agreeing. "Let's make sure the colony is ready for the future," he said, moving toward the main control panel. "We can't rely on you forever. We need knowledge, systems, and training for the colonists. But I hope you'll stay a while. Teach us, guide us, help us become stronger." She moved beside him, hands hovering over the panel. Energy flowed gently from her fingertips, stabilizing the minor conduits as Jace made adjustments. Together, they worked efficiently, not just repairing, but improving the colony's systems. By evening, the colony was fully operational. Lights glowed steadily. Machinery hummed a calm rhythm. And the colonists had returned to their duties, their fear replaced by respect and curiosity. Jace felt proud not just of his own work, but of what humanity had accomplished with help, guidance, and cooperation. He turned to the alien woman. "You know, we might be small, we might be fragile, but together, humans can do amazing things. And today, we proved it." She hummed softly, almost like laughter. Jace smiled. "I think we'll make it. No matter what storms come, no matter what challenges the universe throws at us, we can survive. We can thrive. And maybe, just maybe, we can even learn to reach the stars the way you do." The alien woman extended a hand, and Jace hesitated for a moment before taking it. Energy arced harmlessly between them, a faint glow connecting their forms. He felt a surge of understanding, a shared knowledge, a bond that went beyond language or species. Together, they had faced the storm. Together, they had survived. "You've changed this colony," Jace said softly. "And you've changed me. I think we've only just begun to understand what's possible." She hummed gently, her glow steady and reassuring. Jace realized that humanity had met a being extraordinary beyond comprehension, and in doing so, humans had proven their own courage, ingenuity, and resilience. As night settled over Astera 9, the colony's lights shone steadily against the dark asteroid's surface. The storm had passed. The danger was gone for now. And humans had survived, not by strength alone, but by courage, intelligence, and the willingness to cooperate with someone far beyond themselves. Jace looked at the alien woman, glowing softly in the dim light. "I don't know what comes next," he said. "But I do know this: we can face it. Together." She tilted her head, humming gently. The glow between them pulsed slightly, steady and rhythmic. Jace realized that this was more than partnership. It was a lesson, a gift, a promise. Humans were small, but they could rise to challenges, they could adapt, and they could survive in ways they had never imagined. The colony hummed around them, machinery steady, systems stable, life continuing. Jace felt a sense of hope, a belief that humanity could endure, could thrive, and perhaps even one day, reach the stars with courage and wisdom. And the alien woman? She remained a guardian, a teacher, a guide, showing humans not just how to survive, but how to understand, how to cooperate, and how to rise to challenges far beyond what they thought possible. Together, they stood in the observation deck, watching the asteroid sky. The scars of the storm were still visible, reminders of danger and chaos. But the colony endured, humanity endured, and Jace knew that whatever came next, they would be ready, because they had faced the storm. They had survived. And together, they had learned the true meaning of courage, cooperation, and hope.